give up on themselves. And this is what true evil really looks like. This is what true evil manifests to become. A lack of belief in one's own abilities to change circumstances that are inevitably going to become worse. So suppose this person has a purpose to make these bad situations better. And the things that are creating it to become worse, or making it worse for themselves and other people, like to continue these cycles because they're considering it to be profitable by theft of spirit. Theft of what is natural to the victor who's being attacked. This becomes the crux of analysis, because if a person is made through repeated abuse a psychopath, or a person who is void of emotions, they have broken dopamine receptors due to repeated abuse of the self, of people around them, they just have no concept of true natural self-love and true examples of what it means to care for oneself enough to habitate their own vessel with their full experience and their full sense of enlightenment and self through what it is that they choose. It's almost like, if a person chooses something for themselves and there's a repeated backlash of, no, you chose wrong, you choose wrong no matter what you do, blah blah, and there's a repeated nagging about this during formative points of their decision making, they're going to grow up or grow into a self that is very confused about whether or not they ever did the right thing. When a person's conscience is confused this way, it can lead them to behaviors that can be groomed into very negative self-behaviors, negative attitudes toward cooperation with others, negative formations of thoughts, negative approaches to things, and negative tones to their interactions that are considered to be normal because it's how they were treated. And this is where that saying, hurt people comes from. This is actually the breaking of a psychological moment and stability of a person that is being used to then spiritually harvest that person's opportunities away from them to be given to other people who are not actually worthy of that purpose because they weren't on the same life path that deemed them worthy. Some people, while all people have a purpose, some people are built specifically for purposes that are meant to expand and resonate higher purposes for everyone. So if that one person is attacked because they're a beacon for others' success, that beacon is something that is going to be a point and a target for the attempted destruction of them. Now, whether or not it's successful is completely up to God, and it's usually not. But whether or not that beacon gets destroyed is one of the agendas held in place to assure that no other people succeed. There is a billion-dollar industry positioned to assure that people remain unsure of themselves so that they keep feeding a market, so that they keep feeding other people who are doing this on purpose to hurt them, to hurt the odds of their success, to hurt their happiness, their peace, and to hurt their abilities to create and manifest excellence for themselves. So this is something that, while it seems to be a coincidental type of thing that could be happening, it's not so coincidental when you notice that every single person who has experienced these things at the height of their suffering and the height of any planned suffering that could be happening happens to be someone who could be a very influential person. So it's just fascinating to see the likenesses that are usually associated with this type of abuse and how it can impact a person's life to then be later diagnosed as someone who's a malicious party in a society, when realistically speaking, there are people who purposely built their lives to be this difficult and to push them into a temptation of aligning with that kind of psychological diagnosis, when realistically speaking, they were made a scapegoat for a spiritual sacrifice. It can be argued, but the results with people coming forward and expressing that, yes, this is actually what happened to them, this is why they were, sexually abused in a cult, or this is why they were told not to do certain things as a child by their guardians, not to